Certain things age better than others. A fine wine, a classic car, Robert Downey Jr., for example. Japanese animation, however, isn't typically one of them.
This is it, life or death, and I have to pull myself together.
It's impossible to deny the influence of the original Mobile Suit Gundam on the science fiction landscape. Even though it was originally canceled due to low ratings, it pulled a Star Wars and sold an absurd amount of plastic toys. Parents were apparently fine with the so-called Gundam plastic model kits, because while their kids were playing with them, they got to watch a mostly intriguing futuristic war drama. The success of the kits and their theatrical compilations revolutionized the mecha genre by portraying the machines as weapons that were piloted by soldiers. Mobile Suit Gundam, in many ways, was the birth of the so-called real robot genre. It was also the first documented case of a teenage boy complaining about doing something. Truly groundbreaking stuff, you see. However, the original Mobile Suit Gundam does show its age more than your grandfather, who still mumbles bitterly under his breath every time he sees a Mitsubishi. Which means you get a lot of this, and this, and this.
Amuro! In my heart, I never had a doubt. He made it.
Despite being as rough as the 00 high-grade line, there's still plenty of good show here, especially if you watched it like I did, by watching the compilation movies. The first film starts out pretty frantic, its abbreviated runtime compared to the show lopping off much of the fleshy bits of any fleshed-out world building. Once things start to settle down, however, we're introduced to the plight of the Zeon forces throughout the course of the rest of the movie. It still does a great job, especially in its last third, of humanizing a group that has, as the intro demonstrates, killed a lot of people. It gets better as it goes along, which is odd, considering there is no recorded instance of an eventually great Japanese anime starting painfully slow or confusing ever since. If you've watched my channel, you can probably guess that my tolerance for media-inflicted pain is pretty high, and even I wasn't looking forward to 40-plus episodes of 70s Japanimation. The first of these compilation films encompasses episodes 1 through 12 and some of episode 13 condensed into one feature-length package, making for a Lord of the Rings-like runtime. If you don't have the time to witness the power and glory of the Bright Slap for yourself, then I hope you enjoy this presentation of Mobile Suit Gundam the Movie for the impatient. Universal Studios 0079. The director's brother-in-law, probably, explains that humans never listened to Al Gore and now mostly live in big tubes in space. Some of the space people, known as the Principality of Zeon, said that they don't want to listen to the ground people anymore and cratered the hell out of Australia to prove a point. Ground people and space people played happy slaps for a few months, and now they won't return each other's phone calls. Now that could have something to do with pile driving a space colony with a bunch of civilians living on it into the Australian coastline, but that's just this esteemed internet personality's observation. A couple Zeonic jarheads poke around at a different space colony for a bit when a rare non-hockey playing Canadian named Amuro Ray is found tinkering with his space Xbox. You see, Amuro unjammed his girlfriend Frau Bo's printer once, and he's now considered a member of the Space Geek Squad. The Zeon jarheads get bored and start to go after a big white robot they found and shoot some people. It's at this point that Animu's daddy sense tingles, and he leaves the safety of the literal mountain he appears to be hiding under to look for his daddy dearest in the middle of a hail of gunfire. Amino finds his girlfriend amongst the carnage and smacks her around a bit before getting her to shelter. He decides he can't see much from his vantage point and decides to steal a top-secret Federation superweapon to get a better look. Luckily, the false Canadian knows it's a Gundam from playing an old copy of Gundam Versus on his modded SpaceX box, and because he actually bought one of those huge Steel Battalion controllers at a space yard sale to upstage all those filthy casuals, he knows how to operate the top secret military superweapon with no combat experience or supervision. He even manages not to get shot at by Earth Federation personnel for straight up hijacking priceless military equipment. He makes the robot shoot bullets out of its ears and cleaves one of the Zeonic jarheads in half, the resulting explosion tearing a hole in the colony, exposing it to the vacuum of space, and killing everyone in the colony within minutes. Except, of course, that this is anime, and everyone's fine. On board the White Base, bright Hard Knocks Noah decides to force Amariel to pilot the Gundam some more instead of straight up imprisoning the kid for, again, stealing priceless military equipment. Armando reluctantly agrees, and they are eventually attacked by a celestial being called a Charred Red Comet. Mr. Char-Grilled moves a bit faster than the green jarheads he commands, allowing Azumanga and Char-Broiled to extend the movie's runtime. Amazing Race settles for destroying Char's drinking buddies, causing him to get real nettled and run away. Later, the White Base tries to pawn off some refugees on the base Luna 2, but they refuse, possibly because they don't want to rise in homelessness in their community. Char shows up again, and the captain of the White Base ends up dead, leaving bright Palm of the North Star Noah in charge. The crew makes their way to Earth, which pisses off Charmander, who pusses out about joining Arpeggio in a freefall dance through Earth's atmosphere. Charmeleon hooks up with his boyfriend, Captain Garmazabi, back on their ship, who decides to go after those blasted rapscallions. Garmin attacks our teenage protagonists, including a kid in a wheelchair, before the protag once known as Amuro goes for a nap and acts like a spoiled brat that's ungrateful for the court-martial he didn't receive earlier in the movie. Bright Five Fingers Noah gently reminds Amuro that he needs to continue the movie's plot. He pops a Red Bull and messes up some airplanes. Gamera watches Charizard get out of the shower to clear his mind, allowing it to fill with happy thoughts. Happy thoughts. After the battle, bright "What do you want me to do next?" Noah yells at one of the teenage protagonists for having a stupid character design, while Amuro's girlfriend plays with some future orphans. And after a fighting, he is presented with what is known in this day and age as a waifu. Then Char kills his boyfriend for peeping on him in the shower. Or for cheating on him with another girl. Or possibly for being part of a lineage that was directly responsible for the deaths of those he cared about most. It's a bit unclear. A mustache then fights Amuro with what is clearly a blue Zaku boy Zaku. The government of the space people used Char's boyfriend's death to hype up their next mixtape, and Amuro hung out with his mom and beat up some Earth Federation soldiers for being twats in there somewhere. Roll credits, sell Gunpla, see you next time.